The Apostle Paul wrote this letter to the Corinthian church. A lot of us use the Bible to convict sinners. A lot of us believe that it was written to sinners. So we use it to convict them. But this book called the Bible was written for the saved. It's what we would call an instruction manual. Now, I don't know about you, but I have a 10-year-old Lexus. I don't have an instruction manual for a Volkswagen. I don't have an instruction manual for a Rolls Royce. In my car is the instruction manual. Not only is it just a Lexus instruction manual, but it is a Lexus LX 470 instruction manual. So even inside of the car industry, you don't have just one manual that covers every car that they made. You have a manual for whatever style or model that you have. So, this thing right here called the Bible is our instruction manual. Now, we can use this to tell sinners about our vehicle or what our vehicle offers. But it's our instruction manual. So right here, Paul is writing to the Corinthian church. Amen. This one was one of the worst churches in the New Testament. One of the worst. They were plagued by a number of problems involving division, doctrine, behavior, immorality, misuse of spiritual gifts, rowdy conduct at the Lord's Supper. They had even began to entertain the idea that Christ did not rise from the dead, on which their very salvation was based. But in this text, he is calling them to holy living and warning them of the wrong association with the world. Paul knew that they had to have association with the world, but they were beginning to connect with the world on an intimate level. See, we know that we have to live in this world. We know that we have to work jobs. We have to live here. We have to do the things of the world to live. But when you get intimate with something, it becomes part of you, and your intimacy can redirect you. Because your emotions get involved when it gets to be intimate. Paul argues that there is no communion or partnership between righteousness and lawlessness, light and darkness, Christ with Satan or the worthless one, believers with unbelievers, the temple of God with idols. It is clear that there are two groups have entirely different perspectives. At least we're supposed to have. So we're not supposed to see things the way the world sees it. We're supposed to have a different perspective. We're supposed to have different philosophies. We're supposed to have different worldviews. And we're supposed to have different belief systems, value systems, code of conduct, and all the other stuff. We're not supposed to be like the world. Years after Amos asked the question, can two walk together except they be agreed? Here we have a problem and the promise. Paul made it clear that if you would separate from the world, come out from among them, and be separate, and touch not the unclean thing, what will happen? I will dwell in them and walk in them. This is the promise of the Lord. I will be their God, and they shall be my people. I will become them. I will welcome them. I will be their father, and they shall be my sons and daughters. While there are tremendous promises if we obey, the Bible records that we humans have a serious problem with obedience. Serious problem. Not just me, not just you, but the person next to you. Look at them and say, you have a serious problem too. She's not just talking to me. She's talking to you. Our first parents, Adam and Eve, lived in a perfect world. And God gave them domain over the whole earth and everything they could ever desire. But they disobeyed when they ate the forbidden fruit. Samson was born, listen to this. He was born to be a judge. He wasn't chosen. That doesn't say chosen. The Bible says he was born. The Lord brought him to earth to be a judge. He created him to be a judge over Israel and to deliver the nation from their enemies. What were you born to do? He was given superhuman powers. But with the promise of being a judge and with the powers came something. He was commanded to keep the Nazareth vow. He was not to drink wine. He was not to touch nothing dead. And neither was he to cut his hair. What were you born to be? And what are you not supposed to do? But he disobeyed. And he didn't just disobey in one. He disobeyed all. Got drunk. Let the woman con him out of his secret. See, that's what happens when intimacy comes into the game. That's what happens because intimacy brings on emotion. Emotion brings on, you drop your guard. When you get emotionally involved, your guard drops. Achan was there when God commanded Israel to walk around the city of Jericho until the walls fell down and the city was destroyed. He didn't hear about it. Somebody didn't tell him. It wasn't a rumor. He literally witnessed the power of God. He witnessed what God would do if you obey. See, the walls of Jericho were, when we think about a wall in our head, we think about what we see that's maybe 8, 9, 10 feet of brick, because that's all we've ever seen. The walls of Jericho were as tall, or if not taller, than your telephone poles. They were as wide as a 8-lane highway. So the thickness was thicker than this room. The height was probably tall as this room. These are walls that people lived on. People lived on the top of these walls. Well, so when you talk about somebody walking around a wall and a wall falling down, it didn't just fall, but it went back down to its natural state, to just gravel. So he literally witnessed what God would do. But he also knew God commanded the people to take nothing out of Jericho. Nothing. And there was a lot of, it was gold, cattle, everything that they used to live on. But he said, don't take anything. But Achan decided he would be disobedient, took gold possessions and hid them in his tent, brought God's judgment on the people, disobeyed. See, sometimes when we think that disobedience is just harmful to us, we think that our disobedience, well, it doesn't matter because I'm not hurting anybody but me. This is me being disobedient. We'll even hide it. Take it home with us. Put it in your house. Because you don't think nobody is affected by it but you.
My God, my God, my God. Oh, God.
But everybody was affected because it was a commandment of the people. And one would think that if God exalted someone to a high position, then he would be obedient. But again, the record shows God made Saul the first king of Israel. He received a simple command to go and utterly destroy the Amalekites. Just a command. Just do as I tell you. As parents, don't want you to tell your children, do as I tell you. Just do what I tell you to do. You may not see why you're doing it, but just do what I tell you to do. Saul went down to carry out his mission, but disobeyed when he decided to spare Agag the king and the best of the livestock. So he picked out everything that he thought of the livestock that should be. Let me keep this. Let me go. Wait. I know what God said, but that's good stuff. Why am I going to destroy good stuff? Samuel confronted Saul. And then he tries to justify it with his actions by arguing that why should we destroy the animals when they can be used for sacrifice? That's his way, his reasoning. So when we try, why are we destroying this? Just because God said to? God has given us a command, and we want to do it our way. We see right where we are. God sees around the corner. We see what we see right here, but he sees what's coming. And there's a reason behind what he says, when he says it, and why he says it. There's a reason behind it. You may not know it, you may not see it, but it's not for you to see. Because you can't compare yourself with God. Samuel said, behold, to obey is better than sacrifice, and to heed then of the fat of the ram. Saul discovered, though, the hard way, that with God, partial obedience is disobedience. See, it's either all or nothing. And you cannot partially obey God. You can't partially be obedient. Our bishop was, and I said, oh my God, that was such a revelation for me. He said, you cannot contain sin. You cannot take sin, put it in a jar, and put a top on it. You can do that, but you can't take the top off when you get ready and take out as much as you want to take out and just use that little bit and put the top back on. See, sin is one of them things, it's like when you open, you shake up a Coke or you shake up a cold drink, we call it pop. Shake up the cold drink, and when you pop it open, you can't contain that foam. It just comes flowing out. There's nothing you can do. All of us in here have even tried to put your mouth on it and catch it. And your mouth fill up faster, you can't swallow fast enough. So it's still, you gonna lose some. All of us have done it. Because we want it all. But you cannot contain sin. Even David, the poet king, the worshiper, the man after God's own heart, disobeyed, committing adultery and seeking to cover it with murder. See, one thing leads to another. My mother used to say, one lie, gonna take another lie, gonna take another lie, it's gonna take another lie, it's gonna take another lie. So when you do that first lie, plan to do a whole lot more. And then 9 times out of 10, we forget the first lie. We don't even get it right. We done forgot what we lying about. So then somebody catch you in the lie. Because that's what happens. You can't keep on lying because our memory, first of all, can't contain all that. And see, we as human, we like mystery. That's why people have affairs, you know that, sometimes? It's not so much the affair all the time, or it's not so much the person, that they so in love with somebody. You know what? It's the fun of it. Because you got to sneak into it. You got to hide. So that means I get trips because I got to leave town. See, it's the fun of it. Because notice, I knew this person that went with this married man for the longest. And his wife was sick. She died. Do you know he never told her that she died? For 2 years, the woman had been dead. And he was living in his own apartment for 2 years. And she got mad when she found out. Well, I don't blame her. But that's how we are. See, after the woman died, it took the mystery and the fun out of sneaking. And I'm not man or woman enough to tell you I don't want to marry you. So I keep it hidden and keep on doing whatever I have to do. So, but even when God promised us great and almost unbelievable blessings, it does not convince us to obey. We read all the time about the blessings of the Lord in the Bible, but it does not convince us. It has been proven. We can look at Deuteronomy 28. God told Moses to tell the people if they would diligently obey him, be careful to keep his commandments, he would set them above all nations on earth by blessing them. In the city, in the field, the fruit of their bodies, that means their children, the grounds that they work, their produce, the basket and the store, that means the stuff that I produce, I won't have a problem selling. I'll make my money. So that's my finances. You will be lenders and not borrowers. To be the head and not the tail. Above and not beneath. Blessed when they come in and go out. Blessed with the victory over your enemies. Come against them one way and flee seven. Good treasure, abundant rain on your crops. All these are the blessings. And then he promised to bless all that they put their hands to. Not just some things, but everything that they put their hands to. He promised that. God promised it. Not a friend, not your mama, not your daddy, not your boo, but God. But as soon as they arrived in the land after the death of Joshua, the whole nation plunged straight into disobedience. Lord, have mercy is right. Maybe we should just take a look at the root cause of disobedience. We always talking about be obedient, be obedient, be obedient. Well, maybe we need to look at what causes us to be disobedient. Why are we humans so disobedient? Even in the face of God's promises. See, that's what gets me right there. We still be disobedient in the face of God's promise. There must be something in our very nature that makes us disobedient. It's a girl called Dana. She comes in the world with you. She grows up with you. She follows you around. You can't get away from her. No matter where you go, she's there. When you go, you have to take her with you. She just tags along all the time. I know y'all say, who in the world is Dana? Dana is your DNA. I call her Dana. She's a bad girl, though. All of us women that think we bad girls, y'all ain't got nothing on Dana. Dana a bad girl. Dana will make you do something that you never thought you would do. Dana will make something come out of you that was in your great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandmother or grandfather. You be like, where'd that come from? Dana follows you into the world. She come in here with you. The older you get, the stronger she gets. All the way from Adam and Eve. She's traveled over 2,000 years. She a bad girl. And she don't play with you. And see, we have learned to cover Dana up. We don't even realize Dana is there. See, what we do with Dana, we say, oh, that's just who I am. Oh, that's my personality. Oh, my daddy did it. I got that. I'm just like my daddy when it comes to that. See, we cover her up. And then it's another thing that makes us be disobedient. Ecclesiastes 8:11 says, I'm going to read. Oh, you going to read it for me? Go ahead, Kelly. All right.
Ecclesiastes chapter 8, verse 11. Because sentence against an evil work is not executed speedily. Therefore, the heart of the sons of men is fully set in them to do evil.
I know y'all probably didn't even think that was in there, did you? Because there's no punishment. Because we don't get what we deserve when we do what we do. We do it again. Because the human side of us say, ooh, I got away with it. So things that we tend to seem that to think that we have gotten away with becomes easy. And we keep doing it over and over and over. Most of our corporate criminals didn't steal money one time. It happens over a period of time because the first time they do it, when you embezzle money, the first time they do it, 9 times out of 10, they don't get caught. Second time they do it, 9 times out of 10, they don't get caught. It's way down the line that they get caught. And the reason they have done it that many times is because they didn't get caught the time before. So sin is one of them things that because God gives us grace and mercy, he holds back what we deserve. And because he gives us grace and mercy, we tend to put our hand on the fire again. Because nothing happened. But Isaiah explained it all when he wrote, all of us, like sheep, have gone astray. Each of us have turned to his own way. Face it, it's just who we are. But Isaiah goes on to say that, but God, right here, but God laid on him, right here at this table, right here, the iniquities of us all. The New Testament, Paul, the unbelievable word says, 2 Corinthians 5:21. He made him who knew no sin to be sin for us, that we might be made righteousness of God in him. We find great encouragement when Paul writes to the Philippians, for it is in God who works in you, both to will and to do of his good pleasure. So we can't do this thing without God. We can't do it without him. He's the only way we can do this. Thanks be to God, we have victory over disobedience through Christ who lives in us and gives us the power to do what is pleasing to God and to receive his blessing. That's the only way. And then the only way we have to do that, we got to keep our mind on him. When we go to do something, you know what? That little saying that they use, they made probably millions on it. What would Jesus do? But it will make you think if you say that to yourself when you go to do something. It may be that we should take a closer look at the blessings of the Lord. God's blessings cannot be limited to physical or tangible things. See, we have got this thing turned around. We consider blessings or being blessed by God is things. When I live good, I have a nice house, I drive a good car, I have pretty clothes, or I have money in my pocket, I'm blessed. Isn't that what we say? Well, I know a lot of people that don't even serve God got the same thing. They have nice cars, they have nice houses, they have nice clothes, they have money in their pocket. Matter of fact, they got more than I got. So, a man's life does not consist of the abundance of things. Matthew 5:45 says, lest we forget that God sends rain on the just and the unjust. Be not confused the blessings or favor of the Lord with the fallout or the result of his blessing. See, what we call his blessing is really the fallout of his blessing and the result of his blessing. What's the fallout? The fallout is what I just named. Your clothes, your houses, your cars, and the things that are tangible. That's the fallout of God's blessing. That's not the blessing. But we, the human side of us, says that that's the blessing because that's what we consider being blessed. And some of what we hear in preaching teaches us that. Material things are not the blessings of God. You know what the blessing of God is? Being his child. That's the blessing. Him being in your life is the blessing. Walking in his mercy, his grace, his faithfulness, his forgiveness, his kindness, his companionship, his loving kindness. That's the blessing. Don't get the blessing mixed up with the fallout. Because if you get the fallout and the blessing mixed up, you're on the wrong trail. You won't serve the right master. David said, surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. If goodness and mercy is following you, then that's the blessing. The true blessing and favor of God is the best described in Numbers 6:22 through 26. When God told Aaron and his sons to pronounce this blessing this. He said, pronounce this blessing over the children, which you are, of Israel. So if I'm your child, first of all, that's the blessing. Let's get that straight. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. That's the blessing. That's the blessing. The peace of God. His countenance upon you. His face shining on you. That's the blessing. Bless us and keep us. God will bless us and keep us. We want more than just the blessing of God's hand. We want more than God's presence, his gifts. See, the stuff that we talk about that's tangible are his gifts. That's the fallout, the gifts. We want his presence. I want him. Whether I got his gift or not, I want him right here with me. See, I want him to walk with me. I want him to talk with me. I want him in my presence. He's the real blessing. We really need to, God has caused his face to shine upon us and be gracious unto us. My Lord, that's that right there. And you know, we talk about even super. I went to, I had to preach in the country. I guess it was the country, Picayune. And they were talking about a supernatural blessing. I told my husband, I said, I have a problem with that. I said, there is no supernatural blessing. The only thing in my book is him that's supernatural. He's the only supernatural that I know of. Now, when he blessed me, I can be blessed by the supernatural. But all I need is God to lift up his countenance upon me and give me his peace. Nothing missing from it, nothing absent. I want him to smile on me. I want him to look down on me. I need him to be with me so that disobedience can come under control.